Hello. I can see a couple of people joining me now. Hello, Yaman. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing? Welcome to another live Q&A. Okay, great. Thanks for joining me, Yaman. So, did you join me last? I think I was here 3 weeks ago. What, did you join me 3 weeks ago? Ah, yes. We talked about Turkish food, I remember. Well, thanks for joining me again. We have a few more people. So, for everyone watching, please introduce yourself. Say hello. Don't be shy. Maxim. Ah, from Russia. Thank you for joining us, Maxim. How are you doing? So it looks like we have a few more people in the live Q&A today. How is this time? I've changed the time to a later time for me. Flavio. Thanks for joining us, Flavio. How are you doing? From Brazil. So we've got Turkey, Brazil, Russia. That's good to hear, Maxim. Glad you're well. So we've got fair few countries today. So there's a few new names as well. And we've got Heidi. Ah, Heidi, I recognize that name. Thanks for joining us, Heidi, from Austria. How are you doing? Okay, thanks, Yaman. Yeah, this is a bit late for me, but I think around the world it works quite well. I'm hoping that, yeah, it's a bit nicer. You know, some people finish work. What's the time in Turkey, Yaman? And also, if you have any problem with the video or the audio, please let me know. I hope I've set it up a bit better today, a bit lighter. Okay, that's good to hear, Heidi. So it's 3:30. Oh, okay, 3:30 in the afternoon. Here in South Korea, it's 9:30 at night. So I'm going to join you for a Q&A for an hour. Now, we've got 7 people, which is great, from all around the world. It's incredible. Even from Brazil. That's the first Brazilian I've talked to, I think. So, as I said, today's a Q&A. Now, I have a lot of questions prepared from Instagram and Facebook and my own, real culture mix, and from my own students. So, I'll be using these questions. Ah, great. Sound and light. Thank you, Father. I have my father on to check everything's okay. From England. So that's the other side of the world as well. So I have some questions prepared. But as always, please ask me any questions you have. Ah, interesting. Okay, thanks, Maxim. Yes, it is. It's right next to me. So I'm going to move it out the way and see if that makes a difference. So, I'm back. Could you just let me know if you're still having the same problem? I have moved that. I'll tell you what, I'll turn this speaker off as well. So I'm hoping that solves that problem for you. Yes, Yaman, my father lives in England. Ah, you hear my echo. Oh dear, that's not very nice to hear. Thank you for joining me, Diana. Please let me know if that's continuing. Is that... I've tried to solve that. Are you still getting an echo? So just to answer your question, Yaman, Yes, my father lives in England with my mother in ready? In West England, near Wales. Hold on a second. While we're doing this, let me just make sure. Video capture device. I'm just going to see if I can fix that, because I know how that sounds. That sounds awful. Audio input. Okay, well, let me know how that is. If there's a problem, if it's unlistenable, then I'm going to have to figure that out for next time. So, Flavio, 9:30 in Brazil. Right, okay, so at least an okay time to watch. Not too bad, bit early, I suppose. Okay, and so we'll continue as we are today. I'll try and figure that out. Khan Akbar, Teacher Jack, what is the difference between of and off? Well, there's many differences. I mean, it's difficult to even answer that, because there's so many uses of and there's so many uses of off, and they're actually not very interchangeable. You know, sometimes words like of and for can be used in similar situations, but off is usually used as a preposition of place, or is used in phrasal verbs. So of and off. Can you? I mean, if you have a specific question, perhaps about it used in a sentence, I can help you with that. I think that would be easier to explain. So yeah, please ask me all of your questions about me, about grammar. Oh, fantastic! The echo's gone. That's great news. About me, about grammar, vocabulary, learning methods as well. I'm happy to answer questions about learning methods. So please. And obviously, another question I often get is British English versus American English. How to improve your British English. Some people are interested in that. So let me know all of your questions. For anyone who's just joining, please say hello. It's great to hear all these people around the world. We have Russia, Brazil, Turkey, England, Austria. It's fantastic. So please say hello. If there's no questions right now, I'm going to answer my first question from Instagram that I got in my private messages, my direct messages. So the first question I think I'm going to answer is a personal one. And somebody asked me about my football team. Now, I think I've mentioned this a few times on the podcast, which I hope... Okay, I'll answer that question in a moment, Diana. Thank you for that question. My football team is Manchester United. I'm a big Manchester United fan. Unfortunately, that's not a very good thing to be at the moment, although we are doing okay the last 2 weeks. So, yes, I'm a Manchester United fan. Always have been since about... 4th grade or something like that. So yes, yeah, man. Nowadays it's a very sad time. Liverpool supporters must be happy. Manchester City, but unfortunately Manchester United, I don't know, we're in a big slump. So Diana, let me answer your question. Can I recommend books for an intermediate level? Firstly, what are you looking for? Are you looking to improve your grammar, or are you looking for some kind of speaking material, or what are you looking for specifically? Personally, at an intermediate level, if you're looking to build your grammar, I do like the Cambridge series, Grammar in Use. I don't use it for my teaching anymore because I have my own books, but I used it a lot when I taught in my early days. And It's a very good book. Yeah, Grammar in Use. Ah, Iris, hello. She's my student. Grammar in Use is a very, very good series from beginner to advanced. The only thing I would say is it is more like a grammar dictionary rather than showing you how to learn grammar naturally. So I would always have a copy of Grammar in Use just to check the meaning of grammar and practice. So that's the first book I would recommend to you, Diana. Okay, let me see some other questions. So we've got Maxim. Could you please explain what is the difference between I should have paid more attention in class, I had to pay more attention in class? Very good question. And I like that question because it's very specific. Now, we use should have to say the action that was the right action in the past, but we didn't do it. Okay? So most of the time, that's a regret. So for example, if I say, this morning I was late to work because I woke up too late, then I can say I should have woken up earlier. So the best action to do in the past was wake up earlier, and so I regret now. So if you say I should have paid more attention in class, then you regret that you didn't pay attention in class. Now the other one is I had to pay more attention in class. That just simply means that it was a past obligation. So it's the past tense of have to. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a regret. It just means that it was an obligation. Maybe the teacher expected you to pay more attention in class, or what else? I had to pay more attention in class. Probably it was an expectation for you to pay more attention in class, or it was something that it was 100%. You didn't have a choice. So it depends what you're trying to explain. I would guess you'd probably use I should have paid more attention in class. That's very common. So I hope that answered your question, Maxim. Let me know if you have any other follow-up questions about that. It can be a bit complicated. So I'm going to go to Flavio or Flavio. I'll say Flavio. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Flavio, sorry. Do you speak another language? Yes, I speak Korean. Not perfectly. Possibly not well. I'm in sort of high intermediate in South Korea, so I have no problem with daily use. I also started learning German, but I'm a beginner in German. So, South Korean. Yaman, why did you choose South Korea? Okay, that's a long story, but I will keep it short. I chose South Korea because in Australia, I went to Australia for working holiday, and I spent 1 year there, and I met lots of friends. I also met a girlfriend, and I went to South Korea to meet everyone and have a holiday. But I ended up keep extending my visa, and I ended up going to university, going to language school, doing all these things, and I ended up living here. So I've been here for 10 years. If you know Luke, teacher Luke, I do some work with him, then you may know he's been here the same time as me. He came here for different reasons, but we've been here the same amount of time, 10 years. So thank you for those questions so far. And Iris, yes, grammar in use. I think I've mentioned that, as you're my student, I've possibly mentioned that to you before. I am a big fan of it. I have it behind me here in the bookcase. So, Yaman, sounds great, because I'll go to Australia. Oh, fantastic. Where are you planning to go, Yaman? I spent some time in Sydney and Adelaide, And then I very quickly went to Perth and spent a long time in Perth, and then a long time in the north as well. I would say to you the southwest of Australia is wonderful and well worth visiting, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people stay on the east coast. So if you're planning to go, I do recommend the southwest. And by the way, if anyone is new to the chat, please say hello. Say hello to me. Let me know where you're from. I'd love to know. And let me know any questions you have. Grammar, about me, whatever it is, you ask anything you want and I'll try to answer you. So, I think I've got through all the questions in the chat so far. So I'm going to move... Oh, here we go. Got another one here. Maxim, thank you. Another question. Could you please explain the meaning of stand for and give an example? Okay, so stand for is a phrasal verb. And stand for, I mean, there's a few different meanings of it. There's a few different uses of it, I should say. You can literally say, for example, if my initials are JW, you could say, oh, what does that stand for? I say, oh, JW stands for Jack Webster. So, you know, you can have a shortened name of something, and it can stand for something, which means it represents something different. So I suppose the best sort of synonym for stand for is represent, because we can also talk about stand for meaning something that you're talking about, something you care a lot about or you support. So you stand for some, let me think of a good example. You stand for some purpose in society. You stand for women's rights, for example, and that means you're kind of representing that. So I'd say that's the best synonym. I hope that answers that question. So Yaman, I'll go for working, but I don't know what will happen. I was the same, Yaman. I went there with very little money, and I just booked one hotel for 3 days, and that was it. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going, and it was I had zero plans. So I would say to you, actually, Yaman, that's a wonderful way of doing it. Just go there with no plan and see what happens. It's a great method. Flavio, am I saying your name correctly? I worry that I'm butchering your name. Flavio, what led you to become an English teacher? Yeah, good question. Becoming an English teacher. So firstly, as possibly some of you will know, I was a golf teacher. So I've always had kind of teaching as my job, and my parents are teachers as well. So I kind of have teaching in the blood. And I became an English teacher because I came to Korea and started working part-time. As soon as I arrived here, I already did a teaching course in England, and then I came to hello Ni, am I saying your name correctly? Hello Ni, and Park Yon Lan as well. Hello, that's my wife. So going back to your question, I came to Korea. I started teaching part time. I loved it. And I started developing a course and developing a business, and it grew very naturally. So it was a very natural progression to becoming what I am now. I love teaching, so that's why I became an English teacher. I hope that answers your question, Flavio. Thank you, Ni. I hope I'm saying your name correctly as well. Thanks for saying hello. And I think you're from Vietnam, is that right? I think I've talked to you before. Okay, thanks, Flavio. Thanks for confirming that. Okay, Park Yon Lan, she says, where is your favourite city in Australia and why? Good question. My favourite city in Australia. Now, I'm going to say Fremantle. I don't know if that's a city. I got it right. Vietnamese. Um, I don't know if Fremantle is a city. If it is a city, it's a very small city. I lived there for about 3 months, and that's absolutely my favourite city in Australia because it's so beautiful, it's so relaxed, it's near Perth. Wonderful place. So just a little tip for Yaman, who's going to Australia. Try Fremantle. Wonderful place. So Yaman says, oh my God, totally same case, but your native speaker, slightly different. Yes, you're totally right. I do understand. For a native speaker, it's easier to get jobs. It's easier to kind of integrate into Australian culture and make friends. I do agree. What I would say to you, and this is really advice that I would give anyone, if you're struggling for money and you're struggling for, it's very common to run out of money while you're traveling. Go west. West is best. If you go west, you'll make more money. You'll make more money. There's more opportunities. You don't need English. You can get farming jobs. I did lots of farming jobs. Please, if you're struggling for money, go west, look for the jobs. There's plenty out there. Go southwest, northwest. There's loads out there, and you'll make $23 an hour. What does west mean? I mean west. So north, south, east, west. Probably the opposite on the camera. But if you look at a map, Yaman, look at Perth. That's the west side or the left side of Australia. In Australia, yes, right. Yeah, west is best. So that's if you want to make money. Ni, your Vietnamese, great. And have you ever been to Vietnam? I haven't, but I will be going there. I just bought my flight tickets. I'm going to Vietnam in January. January 15th, something like that. I'm going to Nha Trang. I think it's a kind of a resort city on the east coast of Vietnam. I had some advice from my student. I have a student from Nha Trang, that's it. I had some advice from a student. I teach a student in Vietnam. She lives in Hanoi. And she advised me Nha Trang is a very nice place. What do you think, Ni? Is Nha Trang a good place to go? So I got a question here from Heidi. I'm going to attend on a wedding. Just erase on. I'm going to attend a wedding at the next weekend. I'm going to attend on a wedding at the next. I'm going to attending. Oh, I see. Gerund instead of the infinitive. Okay. Just a couple of things I want to say about that. Firstly, you have a choice of two. The first one is correct. I'm going to attend a wedding next weekend. So just erase on, don't use the preposition on, and also erase at the, because you can't use at the with next. You must choose one of them. You can say at the weekend, fine, next weekend, fine, but don't combine them. So I'm going to attend a wedding next weekend. That means it's your plan. If you say I'm attending, so the present continuous form, I'm attending a wedding next weekend, that means it's an appointment. So that's your choice, those two. I'm going to attend a wedding next weekend. I'm attending a wedding next weekend. Both are fine. It depends, what are you trying to express? Are you trying to express a plan or an appointment? So Heidi, I hope that answers your question. Please let me know if you have a follow-up question about that. And if anyone has just joined, please say hello. I love to see where you are from in the world. It's great to see all these people. So Heidi confirms, okay, no preposition, great, thanks. Okay, fantastic. Well done. So go to Maxim. Excuse me, would you know where the bathroom is located? Maxim, that's perfect. Very polite. I love it. Would you know where the bathroom is located? Another possibility, probably more natural for me, would be, could you tell me where the bathroom is located? I would often say, could you tell me? But perfect, well done. Yeah, man. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Hold on. There's a lot of chatting. I've been teaching all day. It's been a really busy day, so please forgive my voice. Yeah, man. As a native speaker, how do you see English learners speaking? What's your feelings? Yeah, good question. The interesting thing is, and I say this from experience, not as a teacher, but just as a native English speaker. I don't judge. I don't care about your mistakes. You know, very often if a non-native English speaker speaks to me nicely, you know, kindly and politely, and I don't mean with polite forms or anything, just in a nice way, I don't care. I don't judge. I have, in Australia, before I was a full-time teacher, I had so many friends from India, Pakistan, Germany, Turkey. I don't think I had any Turkish friends in Australia. So yes, my point is, don't worry. I didn't have any negative feelings. Certainly, I was curious actually to talk to them. Okay. Thank you, Ni. Yes, Nha Trang is a beautiful coastal city. I'm so excited. Really, really excited to. So, you know, maybe I can chat to you before and you can give me some tips. If you have any tips for Vietnamese travel, please let me know. I'm so open to receive some tips. Maxim, lots of books on your shelf behind your back. Yes, there are. I don't. So if I move like this, there's a lot of books, travel books. A lot of books about IELTS. I'm pretty interested in IELTS, and also I don't know if you can see, but there's so many Korean language books. There's so many Korean language books. I've studied Korean a lot. Too many, far too many. So yes, lots of books. Yeah, man. Yeah. So I gave you that opinion not as a teacher. You know, to be honest, since I've become a teacher, I find myself naturally being a little more critical. Not when I meet people socially, but you know, I have to be more critical. Thinking back to my time in Australia, I was really really open to meeting foreigners from all over the world, and that was the atmosphere in Australia. The atmosphere in Australia, especially if you went to traveling areas, you know, in the west and the north, and you're working and traveling, everyone's socializing. You're socializing with Australians, people from New Zealand, America, England, and there's no judgment of language. And I'm not saying that as a teacher, I am saying that as a traveler and a native speaker, a native English speaker. So if you're worried about speaking English in Australia, you know, looking at the way you write, you have nothing to be worried of. You're going to be fine. You're going to do great. So don't worry about that. So I'm going to, if there's no more questions for now, if you've, oh, yeah, man, what is the difference between I stopped smoking and I stopped to smoking? Stopped smoking is correct. The only other option you'd have is to say I stopped to smoke, which is, you know, you got stop smoking, which is the gerund, stopped to smoke, which is the infinitive. But absolutely, I stopped smoking is correct. We always use the gerund after stopped. I'm going to answer a question from Instagram because time is flying and I don't want to miss all of these. So I'm just going to answer a question from here. Now, I've got some personal, some grammar. Why don't I give you a grammar question. Well, there's one from a student, and I got it in a class recently, and it was while versus during. Now, I don't know about you guys, people in the chat. A lot of my students here in South Korea mix up while versus during. So if I give you an example sentence which is incorrect, maybe I'll write it in the chat just so you can see it. I think seeing it visually is better. So what I often hear, so I'll give you an example. During driving, I listened to the radio. Now, can you see my example sentence? There's 10 of you in the chat. Please let me know. This is a wrong example sentence, which is a very common mistake. During driving, I listen to the radio. Can anyone tell me what's wrong? I'm going to give you a moment. What is wrong with that sentence? Heidi, what, during the car ride? What's that? During the, I don't know what that word is. Oh, car ride, sorry. Car space ride, yeah, it's 2 words. During the car ride, you're right. Yes, you're right. During the car ride, I listened to the radio. So, how could we correct, that's one way to correct. No, that's fine, Heidi. What's another way we could correct this? Keeping verbing. How could we keep verbing in this sentence? We just need to change during. I very often hear this. Any guesses from anyone in the chat? I think I may have said the word earlier. So no, okay, good try, Yaman. Well done. Park Yon Lan comes to the rescue. While driving, I listen to the radio. So this is a really common mistake that I hear. Yes, well done, Heidi. Yeah, you got it. While I was driving, that's the other option. While I was driving, I listened to the radio. And you could say while I was driving, or you could simply say while driving, but both would be fine. It depends whether you want to put the subject in there. Basically, during is used with a noun, and it would normally be like an event, something that takes some period. So a good example would be during the movie, during the lesson, during this live Q&A. That's all perfect. When you use a verb, say while verbing. And that's very common, While studying, or while I was studying, I drank coffee. While walking to work, while talking to my friend. So, when you want to use the verb, make sure you use while and verbing. Good, well done. So that was a question that came up in class. I very often hear that mistake, so just be careful of that one. Next, we have a question here from Maxim. Could you please tell me which one is correct? I look forward to meet you, or I look forward to meeting you. And it was nice to meet you. It was nice meeting you. Okay, yeah, good question. I look forward to meeting you. To meet you, and then it was nice to meet you, and it was nice meeting you. So let's start off with the first one. Actually, as far as I can see right now, everything's fine. So firstly, I look forward to meet you. Now, for me, personally, I always say I look forward to meeting you. So the structure that I teach my students is look forward to doing something. I look forward to watching the movie. I look forward to seeing my friends. So that's the structure that I teach, because I very often hear mistakes with that, mixing up with expect and other things. So look forward to meeting you is more natural for me, but both of them are possible. The next one is it was nice to meet you, or it was nice meeting you. Again, both fine. It was nice to meet you. It was nice meeting you. Both are absolutely fine. So, sometimes you can use the infinitive or the gerund and there's no problem. You just choose which one you prefer. For me personally, I think I'd be more likely to use it was nice to meet you. But really, no difference for me. I could use either. So I think sometimes, perhaps if you're speaking a little more informally, you just drop it was and just say nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. Maybe you're on the phone. Yeah, nice meeting you. So that's, but that would be a bit less formal. Dropping the it was. So yeah, good question. That's a tough one actually because all of them are actually used. Ni, 10 o'clock. It is 10 o'clock. Yes, right. How about in Vietnam, Ni? What's the time there? Yeah, right, Maxim. Yeah, that's the structure. That's something you can do informally. So, Ni, what's the time in Vietnam? Are you maybe 2 hours behind us? It's 10 p.m. here. It's the end of a long day. 8 p.m. Okay, so you're 2 hours behind us. And I'm curious, do you have daylight saving? Now, in England, we have something called daylight saving, where in the autumn and spring, the clocks change an hour and change an hour. So recently, the clocks went back an hour in England. Does anyone in this chat have daylight saving? In Korea, there's no daylight saving. So the clocks are always the same all year round. I don't know. Do any other countries have daylight saving? Yes, you're right, Yaman. It is controversial. Some people... Oh, you have it in Austria as well. Some people don't like it. It's for the farmers, right? As far as I understand, it helps farmers... So, yeah, to answer your question there, do you believe it's beneficial? I don't know. It's certainly not beneficial for me, personally, but I think the reason we do it is for farmers. And the farmers like the extra hour in the morning in the autumn because they like to work in the morning. So, Maxim says, we don't have it in Russia... But we used... right. Maxim, do you know why they changed? Do you know why they changed from having daylight savings to not having that? And Heidi... Yes, right. I thought it was recently. And I think you're on the same time as England. We did the same time as you. Because I arranged the time for this Q&A and I noticed that suddenly... London is 9 hours behind us. Okay, Maxim. Yeah, I don't know. I think England has no intention to change right now. In Vietnam, we don't have time saving. Okay. Right. Yeah, it seems to be... I don't know. I've heard it's in some countries, but not in others. Okay, well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I do have another... well, let me make it a little test. I'm going to give you 3 sentences. Now, the reason I'm giving them to you is it's another question. I had a question about at, by, and until. Now, I don't know. I may have done this in the last Q&A. My memory is terrible, but I want to give you a little example. 3 examples, actually. And I want you to see if you can tell me the difference between these examples. So the first one is I'll be there at, let's say, let's do my kind of Q&A time. So I'll be there at 9 p.m. I'll be there by 9 p.m. And one more. I'll be there until 9 p.m. You got it? Okay, so you should be able to see 3 sentences that I've put in the chat. And these are sentences that well, they're prepositions I often hear mistakes with here in Korea. So what I want you to do is see if you can tell me the difference. Now, I know it's a bit difficult to put that into the chat, but if anyone could give it a go, you know, what's the meaning of at? What's the meaning of by? And what's the meaning of until? Are they different? Are they the same? To my Korean students, they can't distinguish well because the translation is kind of vague. Okay, Yaman has got number 1 correct. At is exactly the time. You're absolutely right. Yaman is, at means it's the exact time. So if I say I'll be there at 9 p.m., it means I will arrive exactly 9 p.m. So how about by and until? Can you tell me how we use by and until? Yep, Maxim, absolutely right. At is the exact time. So if you can tell me by and until, I'm just going to say a little bit more about at. At, as you said, is precise time, exact time. So it's the perfect preposition to talk about an appointment time, to make an appointment. Okay? Now, Maxim says around. Hello, DK. DK Kyra. Thanks for joining. Okay, I'm going to answer your question in a moment. So Maxim says to around. Now, around is different actually. Around, so you've got at means exactly that time. Around means it can be a little bit before and it can be a little bit after. So if we say I'll be there around 9 p.m, then 8:55 is okay, 9:05 is okay. By is a different meaning. So Yaman says by is, oh, perfect, well done. Yeah, Yaman's right. By means at 9 p.m. or before. At or before. So the way you can think about it is always at or before. At or before. That will help you remember. Maxim says, after 9 p.m. I'm going to leave. You're right, Maxim. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right with number 3. Until shows a long action that finishes at 9 p.m. So let me just talk about those 3 examples more specifically, as you've all got it right. Well done. Number 1 means precisely, exactly 9 p.m. We use this to make an appointment. By 9 p.m. means at 9 p.m. or before. We use this normally to promise my arrival time. So I always tell my friends, like we meet in the pub, hey, I'll be there by 9 p.m. Then they know at or before. That's very common to say, like a promise, my arrival time. Finally, until means that it's, I'm there. As Maxim said, I'm there up to 9 p.m. and then I'll leave. Now, that's a very common mistake in Korea. I don't know about your countries, but in Korea, a lot of my students say, hey Jack, I'll be there until 9 p.m. So I say, oh, you're going to leave at 9 p.m? And they say, no, I'll be there at or before. They mean by. So as Yaman said, that's a very common one. Now, is it the most common? It depends on what you're trying to say. If you are promising to your friend, if you're telling your friend your arrival time, yes, by is really, really common. And perhaps it's the most common. Because sometimes at is too precise. It's too exact. We don't know exactly when we'll arrive, so by is very, very common. Now, sorry, DK Kyra, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hi, Jack, I have a doubt with believe in or believe on. It's believe in. Believe in something. So yeah, with that, you just got to memorize that the verb preposition combination, and it's believe in, to believe in something. Good question. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that earlier, but I was on a roll. I was teaching. Flavio, yeah, it's hard. That's a tricky one. And you know, grammar rules are tricky. Hopefully, you know, I try to explain it in a way and in some context that you can understand. So try to remember those three sentences. You know, try to imagine you're having a phone call with a friend and I'll be there by, I'll be there at, I'll be there until. Try to think of that context and hopefully that will help you to remember. You're welcome, DK. Yaman, maybe some politicians say at. That's an interesting point, actually. You know, sometimes you'll find with politicians or, you know, formal speaking, or, you know, business, things like this, they will use more precise language. So, yes, perhaps the use of at would be used more by them. That's a good point, Yaman. And important to think about that. It's important to think about, you know, who would say it. I always tell my students that, you know, when we're studying grammar, you know, grammar tenses. Thank you, Maxim. That's very nice of you. When I teach my students grammar tenses, you know, people get so confused by grammar tenses. I really understand. But if you think about, you know, why you're using it and who would say it, that can be a really useful way of actually memorizing. So Heidi gave a really interesting example earlier. I'm going to go to a wedding or I'm going to a wedding. Well, I'm going to go to a wedding is a plan. I'm going to a wedding is an appointment. So I ask my students, well, why would you choose each one? What are you trying to express? Are you telling the listener that you have an appointment, so you're busy? Well, you should say, I'm going to a wedding. So that's why you would choose that. So we've gone up a little bit. We've got a few more people watching, 11 people watching. If you're new to this, please say hello. Please tell me your country. We have Russia, Brazil, Turkey, Vietnam, Korea, England. It's a great mix of people. So please tell me who you are and where you're from. Do you have any more questions? If there are no questions for now, I'm going to go back to my list I got from students and Instagram and Facebook. I try to take questions on there, and I try to answer all of them if I can. Now we've got some pretty heavy subjects here, so I tell you what, we've done a bit of grammar. Let's do a personal question. Now I had a question. Oh no, let me just deal with Yaman first. I heard in Sherlock it's very silly, but I thought silly is already extreme adjective. Oh right, no, it's not. It's very so silly is not a good question. It's not an extreme adjective. So you know the way we can test is it an extreme adjective is using absolutely. You can't say it's absolutely silly. Now I'll tell you the extreme. So silly is a regular adjective. The extreme adjective of silly would probably be ridiculous. Yeah, I'd go with ridiculous. Now you can't say very ridiculous. You can say absolutely ridiculous. So it is an extreme adjective. Ni from Vietnam. Oh, we got a new person. Venia. Am I pronouncing that correct? Venia or Venia? Please let me know. I'm going to go with Venia. Hi Jack. I'm Venia from Indonesia. Welcome. You are the first Indonesian student in today's Q&A, I think. So welcome and thank you for joining. So Ni from Vietnam asks, do you teach in school? I don't. Well, I teach in my school. I have my own private academy here in Seoul. Now, if you've heard of Gangnam, which is in Seoul, you may have heard of Gangnam. It's used in songs and there's lots of references to Gangnam. I have my own academy in Gangnam. It's a small academy. I teach groups up to 6 people. I do a lot of one-on-one teaching. I also do a few Skype classes with people around Seoul who can't get to class. So yes, I do teach in school. But it is a private school and it's my own. But obviously, I think you mean a public school or a real school with classrooms and teachers. No, I don't. No, I don't. Yeah, man, I'm very starving. Yeah, that's incorrect. So starving is an extreme adjective. And by the way, I love extreme adjectives. If you can use extreme adjectives, please do. I'm a huge fan of them. So just to explain to people who don't know, because Yaman has introduced extreme adjectives. Extreme adjectives are the equivalent of very plus adjective. So for example, very dirty, so very plus regular adjective dirty equals filthy. Filthy. An extreme adjective is stronger. And you can't use very with an extreme adjective. You have to use absolutely. Heidi, I'm sorry, but I must leave your lesson now because I'm having an appointment. It was great to join this live chat. Thank you, Heidi. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you could join this one. I was really happy to meet you, and thanks for your questions. I'll be back in a couple of weeks, so please join me. I hope I can chat to you again. So going back to extreme adjectives. Let me give you another quick test. So yeah, see you soon, Heidi. I'm going to put a regular adjective. Let me see if you can put the extreme adjective version of the regular adjective. So I've put a regular adjective in the chat. Can you tell me the extreme adjective version? Give you a few more seconds. No, we need one word. You are using extremely, which is extremely is an adverb, and then you're using the adverb with hot. Maxim, you're correct. That's perfect. I mean, there's nothing grammatically wrong, but we're talking about extreme adjectives, which is a new adjective meaning very hot. Now, Flavio says hottest. Now, that's a superlative. So we are changing hot into the number one, so the hottest, but it's still not the correct answer. I'm going to give you the correct answer. Boiling. It's boiling today. Same meaning as very hot. It's boiling. So don't say it's very boiling. That's incorrect. If you want to put it one more level up, it's absolutely boiling. Let me give you another regular adjective. Cold. That's a regular adjective. So the superlative is coldest, obviously. But what is the extreme adjective? Can anyone get this in the chat? The extreme adjective. Bitterly cold. Yeah, man, that's great. But that is it's a very unique adverb. That's great, but it's not. Knee, you're very close. Oh, Maxim got it. Well done. Maxim got it. Yeah, freezing. So, yeah, man, very good. I love using creative adverbs like bitterly. That's perfect. Kyonlan, chilly is actually one down from cold. Okay, so we're saying, so you've got chilly, cold, freezing. So as Venia said, so freezing is the adjective, the extreme adjective, and ni, frozen, you're very close, but it's freezing. Let me give you one more. Now, I'm expecting a few answers here. There's, I think, 6 or 7 possible answers. So I'm looking for the extreme adjective version of good. So should be one word answer, but there are, I think, 5 or 6. Excellent. Well done, Maxim. That's correct. Give me some more. Awesome. Absolutely right, Kyonlan. That movie was awesome. Great. Yes, Flavio? And Yaman says the Irish say... Flavio, great. Yeah, you're right. There are more. There are more. There's three more that come to my mind. Magnificent. That's another one I didn't think of. Magnificent. Yeah, British people say that as well. Outstanding. Great. These are all great words. Well done. Amazing. And there's another one. Well done, Park Hyun Nan. You got it. Sensational. Sensational. An A in there. There's one beginning with F. Fan. Fan. Can anyone get it? Waiting for the first person to get it. Fantastic. Yaman got in there. Fantastic. I use this all the time. So what I want to say about extreme adjectives, if you are new to extreme adjectives, if you're hearing this for the first time, please Google extreme adjectives. Get a list. And what I want you to do is get a list, and you'll see the regular adjectives on one side and you'll see the extreme adjectives on the other, and you'll be able to compare. And what I want you to do is look down the regular adjectives and start using the extreme adjective version more. You know, using very cold, very hot, very good is boring. It's a little bit boring if you're using very all the time. So here's my challenge for you, to the people who are watching this. I want you to try to integrate it, to bring in some extreme adjectives to your language. Good luck with that. Now, we're getting into the last 5 minutes of today's Q&A. My bedtime is rapidly approaching. So has anyone got any final questions or final comments? You can still introduce yourself if you're from a country that hasn't been mentioned. Please give me your final thoughts, your final questions. I'll answer them, and then I will be heading off to bed. Okay, Maxim, good luck. And Maxim, use the extreme adjective. Challenge, fantastic. Don't use good. Use your new extreme adjective. Heading to bed. Heading to bed. So when I say heading to bed, when I use heading, I mean to go in a direction. I use this very often. Heading somewhere. I'm heading to the shops. Heading to bed. So yes, after this, I got to shower, prepare some lessons for tomorrow, and head to bed. So I'm going to give you just a few more minutes just to get your last questions in. Just to let you know, there are some more questions that I haven't answered, and I'd love to answer. I think this is a really good way of answering questions that you have. So I will keep them for next time. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to aim to do this every week or 2 weeks. I'm going to aim for at least every 2 weeks. But what you can do, I think a lot of you follow me on Instagram, so I will always give you warning. I'll always announce 4 or 5 days in advance. You can contact me through Instagram and make your suggestions. You can ask me questions through Instagram and tell me, hey Jack, this is for the Q&A, the next Q&A. You're welcome to do that. Say hello to me. Let me know your name because I want to get to know you all. Yaman, I'm getting to know Yaman and Maxim and Flavio, and we had Ni from Vietnam and Venia. We've got all these people. We've got from Austria as well. We had Heidi, all these people. So please let me know. Well, what a way to end this lesson. We've got, I don't know, is it Eurus? You said your lesson was the dog's bollocks. Have a splendid weekend. That is a wonderful way to wrap up. Just to let you all know, that's a very rude but funny way, is a British way of saying something's very good. So I didn't teach you that. That was from Eurus, but please enjoy that. I certainly enjoyed that. Thank you for sharing that with us. And also splendid. Splendid is a very nice British word. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining me. That was a great turnout today and great to meet you all from all over the world. As I said, message me on Insta. Let me know who you are. Let me know the questions you have for the next Q&A, and I'll be back as soon as possible. I'll aim to be back next week. So, thank you very much. Thanks for joining. See you all next week, I hope. Have a great week. Bye-bye.